Professor Idris Bugaje, Professor of Engineering, joins us now to talk about the recently commissioned Abuja-Kaduna Kogi Pipeline. Thank you for joining us this morning. Well, this is definitely one infrastructure to look forward to, and of course, it's something that's been done by governments and, of course, in collaboration with the private sector. How significant an infrastructural development is this in the whole infrastructure gap we have?
Well, thank you very much. This is a major milestone in infrastructural development in Nigeria. It is part, of course, of the larger national gas pipeline network, and also part of the Trans-Saharan network, which intends to deliver natural gas to Europe across the Sahara. So, but the effect of this is it is going to turn around the economy very effectively, provided we make good use of the opportunity. So I think it is a major infrastructural milestone, and I hope the private sector will seize on this opportunity to develop the relevant industries, utilize the natural gas to produce several products that will help the economy pick up and improve.
You've mentioned the private sector, to which we will come, but could you please give us some other things in the value chain of this Ajaokuta Kaduna Kogi gas pipeline?
Well, the Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano AKK gas pipeline is going to deliver about 3.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas daily, which means a little over 1 trillion of natural gas every year. And, you know, the natural gas reserves in Nigeria is about 200 trillion cubic feet. Proven reserves, and then the unproven ones are about 400 trillion, so totally 600 trillion. So out of that, of course, we already have gas pipelines reaching out to Ogun, Lagos, you know, cross rivers and rivers, etc. Some even going to the West African coastline. I mean, the importance of this is that we have an opportunity for power generation. We have an opportunity for petrochemical plants. But in my opinion, we should put more attention to petrochemical plants. This is because power generation, at the moment, the national grid is unable to even cope with the existing thermal power plants. We have about 13 new IPPs all over the country, especially in the southern states of the country where the gas is close by. But at the moment, out of the 13 gigawatts or 13,000 megawatts of power that could be generated from the GENCOs, only 7,000 could be handled by the national grid. And for that reason, adding more power plants may not help the situation. Federal government must find ways to upgrade the national grid before new generation plants are put, you know, online. So for that reason, I would suggest the AKK should be geared towards petrochemicals, things like urea fertilizer. Today, Nigeria is importing a good proportion of what we consume of urea fertilizer. And the federal government has a very ambitious, silent agricultural, you know, revolution going on. And I believe there is need to consolidate that by producing the urea fertilizer locally. This can be produced easily from natural gas. We have other products, things like methanol, formaldehyde, urea, I have mentioned urea, ammonia, nitric acid, several other petrochemicals. The list is endless. So these are all opportunities that are available. And it is now time for the states through which this pipeline is passing through to call for an investment roundtable. They invite the private sector. They discuss the incentives they are going to provide to the private sector, so that the private sector can start to invest in these different ventures. Even if we concentrate on urea, I believe it is going to make a very significant impact on the agriculture and the national economy generally. It will create a lot of employment opportunities.
And this is what the country. If I may comment, yes, you have mentioned these opportunities. I mean, power, for example, you mentioned other opportunities. But for some people, they're looking ahead. So we have 24 months to complete this, 2 years, to be precise. Some think it might even go beyond that. There's also the funding aspects, the economic viability. There is the security situation. I mean, this is meant to be Ajaokuta, Kaduna, Kano, and you understand that the security situation in the country obviously needs a lot of attention right now. So yes, the opportunities are there, but clearly there are challenges. Have you factored some of these challenges in also, and how huge a role will they play in completing this project and ensuring it is viable to repay back in 12 years?
Well, I think the challenges will always be there. But you see, it is these very industries that we are going to create with this gas that will address some of those challenges. A lot of this insecurity we face in this country is due to unemployment across the whole country, especially in the north, where the insecurity is more endemic. And I think this is the first time we are bringing gas to the core north. And I believe it's going to make a lot of impact. Not only those new industries, even the present industries can be connected. Look at Kakuri, Kaduna, which is an industrial hub. Why don't we get those gas pipelines across to the textiles and other industries that are in Kakuri so that they can now find alternative ways of powering those machines? Because natural gas is as good or even better than the conventional liquid fuels that we use in running some of those machineries, because it burns much cleaner and is better for the environment. So challenges will always be there in any developing country, even in the developed world there are challenges. But I believe it is these industries that will solve the very problems we are talking about. And I think 2 years is enough time for us to organize and get the private sector on board and try to build the relevant industries. Designs of these plants have already been done by chemical engineers across the country. I remember about 5 years ago, we did a design for urea plant from coal. So the changes will not be very significant when you are changing the raw material from coal to natural gas. So within these 2 years, we should try to mobilize, the private sector. There are a lot of them that are indigenous, Dangote Group and the rest of them, and there are also others that can be brought from outside so that we can quickly get these industries in place, and then the gas will be supplied and we'll be able to create employment, secure the country, and also improve on the GDP of the country, especially at this moment when we are facing very serious challenges from COVID and other factors.
Well, you've talked about the federal government, and you also mentioned the states and the private sectors. But a critical category in all of this are the communities through which this 614-kilometer-long pipeline will pass through. And that perhaps is the reason for my colleague's question about the safety and security of these. What kind of buy-in do you think the states can give to these communities to make it part of their own, to own the process as well?
Well, the communities need to be sensitized. Gas pipelines are not like crude oil pipelines or petroleum products pipelines. Everybody should realize any pipeline passing through the community must guard it, simply because an accident with a gas pipeline can spell a lot of doom for that community. And therefore, they need to be sensitized. They need to also, as you mentioned, take ownership of that pipeline. And we can use modern technology, using ICT, to monitor the gas pipelines so that before any infractions happen, we can be able now to contain it. This is very essential. But I don't see any problem really moving gas pipeline from Ajaokuta down to Kano, simply because what is being conveyed in those gas pipelines are not something that somebody can go with a jerry can to collect. These are natural gas, and people should realize the danger of natural gas. If not for the indiscipline we have in this country, otherwise I would even recommended extending the natural gas pipelines to domestic homes.
Well, just as you said, Professor, perhaps the critical thing here is ensuring that we give the communities the necessary buy-in. Otherwise, I mean, it's just a pipeline as far as many of them are concerned. But we have to thank you very much, Idris Bugaje, Professor of Engineering. Thank you so much for your thoughts this morning.
It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. All the best.
All right.